The Billionaire's Betrayal, Complete Story. Part 1, The Wedding Day Betrayal. The perfect morning. Isabella Martinez stood before the full-length mirror in the bridal suite of the Grand Riverside Hotel, her reflection showing a vision in white silk and lace. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting a golden glow across the room. Everything was perfect. Too perfect, perhaps. "You look absolutely stunning," her mother whispered, tears already forming in her eyes. "Ryan is the luckiest man alive." Isabella smiled, but something felt off. She couldn't quite place it. Maybe it was just wedding day nerves. After all, she was about to marry Ryan Blackwood, the charming CEO of Blackwood Technologies, the man who had swept her off her feet 2 years ago at a tech conference in San Francisco. Her company, Martinez Innovations, had developed revolutionary software that was changing the industry. At 28, Isabella had built her empire from nothing, working 16-hour days and sacrificing everything for success. Ryan had seemed like the perfect partner, someone who understood her ambitions and supported her dreams. "I need to check on something," Isabella said suddenly. "I'll be right back." She slipped out of the bridal suite, her heart racing for reasons she couldn't explain. The hotel hallway was quiet, most guests still preparing for the ceremony that would begin in less than an hour. As she walked past one of the smaller preparation rooms, she heard voices. Familiar voices. The devastating truth. "Come on, man, you can tell me the truth," a male voice said. It was Marcus, Ryan's best man. "Are you really in love with Isabella, or is this all about her company?" Isabella froze outside the door, her hand on the handle. Ryan laughed, a cold sound that Isabella had never heard before. "Love? Marcus, please. This is business." Isabella is brilliant, I'll give her that, but she's also naive. "Once we're married, I'll have access to all her patents and technologies. The prenup she signed actually works in my favor, not hers. Her lawyers missed some very important clauses." Isabella's blood ran cold. "What about Sophie?" Marcus asked. "Does Isabella know about you too?" "Sophie understands this is temporary," Ryan replied casually. "After I get what I need from Isabella's company, I'll file for divorce. Sophie and I will be together, and I'll have everything I want. Isabella built something incredible, but she doesn't have the ruthlessness to take it to the next level." "I do." The words hit Isabella like physical blows. Sophie. Her best friend since college. The woman who had helped her pick out this very wedding dress. They had been planning this together for months. "That's cold, even for you," Marcus said, but he was laughing. "It's business," Ryan repeated. "Nothing personal. Isabella is sweet, but she's too trusting. She actually believed I loved her. Can you imagine? A woman that smart falling for my act so completely?" Isabella's hands trembled. Rage, pure and burning, flooded through her veins. But beneath the rage was something more dangerous, the desire for revenge. The mysterious brother. She couldn't go back to the bridal suite. Not yet. Not like this. Isabella walked blindly down the hallway, her vision blurred with tears she refused to let fall. She found herself in a quiet alcove near the hotel's library, collapsing onto a velvet bench. Wedding day jitters, or something worse? Isabella looked up to find a man she'd never seen before standing in the doorway. He was tall, probably in his mid-30s, with dark hair and piercing gray eyes that seemed to see right through her. He wore an expensive suit that fit him perfectly, and there was something dangerous about him, something that reminded her of Ryan but sharper, more intense. "Who are you?" she managed to ask. "Damian Blackwood," he said, moving closer. "Ryan's older brother. The one the family doesn't talk about." Isabella's eyes widened. She'd heard vague mentions of an older brother, someone who had left the family years ago after a falling out with their father. Ryan never spoke about him. "What are you doing here?" she asked. Damian smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I came to see my baby brother get married." Though from the look on your face, I'm guessing the ceremony might not happen after all. He tilted his head. What did he do? How do you know he did anything? Because I know Ryan, Damien said simply. I know exactly who he is and what he's capable of. So tell me, Isabella Martinez, brilliant founder of Martinez Innovations, what did my charming brother do to put that look of murder in your eyes? The alliance forms. Isabella studied Damien carefully. There was something about him that felt trustworthy, despite the dangerous edge. Maybe it was the fact that he clearly had no love for Ryan either. He's using me, she said finally. This whole thing, the romance, the proposal, the wedding, it's all fake. He wants my company's patents. And he's been having an affair with my best friend. Damien's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Sophie Chen? You know about her? I make it my business to know things, Damien replied. He sat down beside her, keeping a respectful distance. Let me guess, you're thinking about walking away right now. Leaving him at the altar and disappearing. Yes, Isabella admitted. Don't. She turned to stare at him. Excuse me? If you run away, Ryan wins, Damien said calmly. He gets to play the victim, the heartbroken groom left at the altar. People will sympathize with him. Your company's reputation might suffer. Investors might see you as unstable. He leaned forward. But if you stay, if you play the game better than he does, you can destroy him. Why would you help me destroy your own brother? Isabella asked. Damien's smile turned cold. Because Ryan destroyed me first. 10 years ago, he stole something very precious from me, not money, something far more important. He turned our father against me, spread lies that forced me out of the family business. I built my own empire since then, but I've never forgotten. I've been waiting for the right moment to make him pay. Isabella's mind raced. Revenge. The word tasted sweet and dangerous on her tongue. What do you propose? She asked. The plan takes shape. Marry him, Damien said. Go through with the wedding. Act like you know nothing. Then, over the next few months, we work together to take everything from him. His company, his reputation, his precious Sophie. Everything. How? Isabella whispered. I have resources, Damien explained. Connections, information, money. You have something even more valuable, access to Ryan and insider knowledge of his business dealings. Together, we can systematically dismantle everything he's built, including his plan to steal your technology. Isabella's heart pounded. This was crazy. Absolutely insane. But the alternative was letting Ryan get away with betraying her, with using her, with mocking her love and trust. What do you get out of this? She asked. Revenge, Damien said simply. And the satisfaction of watching my brother lose everything, the way I lost everything 10 years ago. Plus, he added with a slight smile, I rather enjoy the irony of stealing something precious from him. I'm not a thing to be stolen, Isabella said sharply. I wasn't talking about you, Damien replied. I was talking about his victory. His moment of triumph. We'll let him think he's won, and then we'll pull the rug out from under him so hard he'll never recover. Isabella stood up, pacing the small alcove. Every rational part of her brain screamed that this was a terrible idea. But the hurt, angry part, the part that had just heard the man she loved mock her trust and plan to betray her, that part wanted blood. If I do this, she said slowly, I have conditions. I control my company at all times. No matter what happens, Martinez Innovations remains mine. And if at any point I want out, I get out. No questions asked. Agreed, Damien said immediately. This is about destroying Ryan, not harming you. In fact, part of my plan involves making sure your company not only survives but thrives. The best revenge is success, after all. The wedding ceremony. 45 minutes later, Isabella walked down the aisle on her father's arm, a perfect smile fixed on her face. She looked like the happiest bride in the world. No one could see the ice in her veins or the calculations running through her mind. Ryan stood at the altar in his designer tuxedo, looking handsome and confident. When he saw her, his smile widened. He probably thought he'd won. Thought she was walking straight into his trap. He had no idea she knew everything. As Isabella reached the altar and took Ryan's hands, she caught sight of Sophie sitting in the third row, wearing a lavender bridesmaid dress and looking guilty. Good. She should feel guilty. In the back row, barely visible, stood Damien Blackwood. He gave Isabella the slightest nod. The game had begun. "Dearly beloved," the minister began, "we are gathered here today." Isabella barely heard the words. Her mind was already racing ahead, planning her next moves. She would need to be careful, methodical. Ryan thought he was the predator, but he was about to discover he'd married a woman far more dangerous than he'd ever imagined. When the minister asked if she took Ryan to be her lawfully wedded husband, Isabella looked directly into his eyes and smiled. "I do," she said clearly. The words felt like a declaration of war. The reception. The reception was held in the hotel's grand ballroom, with hundreds of guests celebrating the happy couple. Isabella played her part perfectly, smiling and laughing, accepting congratulations and well wishes. She danced with Ryan, allowed him to kiss her for the cameras, and pretended everything was wonderful. Inside, she was planning. Sophie approached during a quiet moment, her eyes filled with what looked like genuine remorse. "Isabella, you look beautiful. I'm so happy for you." "Are you?" Isabella asked sweetly, keeping her voice low. "Are you really happy, Sophie? Or are you just relieved that you get to keep playing your little game?" Sophie's face went pale. "What are you?" "I know," Isabella whispered. "I know everything. About you and Ryan. About his plans for my company. About all of it." "Isabella, I can explain." "No need," Isabella interrupted, her smile never wavering. "Just know that I know. And I'm going to destroy both of you for what you've done." She walked away before Sophie could respond, leaving her former best friend standing frozen in shock. The first move. Later that evening, during a quiet moment away from the festivities, Isabella found Damien on the hotel's terrace overlooking the city. "Congratulations, Mrs. Blackwood," he said without turning around. "How does it feel to be married to your enemy?" "Strange," Isabella admitted. "But empowering. I told Sophie I know about them." Damien turned to face her, his expression unreadable. "Bold move. That tips our hand." "Good," Isabella said. "I want them to know I know. I want them to spend every moment wondering when the axe will fall. Fear is its own kind of torture." Damien studied her for a long moment, then smiled, a real smile this time, not the cold one he'd worn earlier. "You know what? I think I underestimated you, Isabella Martinez. You're not just smart. You're ruthless." "I learned from the best," Isabella replied. "Ryan taught me that trust is a weakness. That love is a tool to be exploited. So I'm going to use those same lessons against him." "What's your first move?" Damien asked. Isabella pulled out her phone and showed him an email she'd drafted but not sent. "Tomorrow, I'm transferring all of my company's most valuable patents into a new subsidiary that Ryan can't touch. The prenup he's so proud of? It only covers assets that existed before the marriage. Anything created or reorganized after today is mine alone." Damien laughed, a genuine sound of appreciation. "Brilliant. He'll never see it coming." "That's the point," Isabella said. "He thinks I'm naive and trusting. So I'll let him keep thinking that while I systematically take everything he planned to steal from me." She looked out at the city lights, feeling more powerful than she had in months. The hurt was still there, sharp and raw, but it was fuel now. Fuel for something much more satisfying than tears. "Thank you," she said quietly to Damien. for giving me the courage to do this instead of just running away. Thank you, Damien replied, for giving me the opportunity to finally make my brother pay for what he did to me. They stood together in comfortable silence, two damaged people united by a common enemy and a shared desire for revenge. Neither of them realized that revenge was about to become far more complicated than they'd planned. Part 2, The Game of Deception. The Honeymoon Strategy. 1 week later, Isabella and Ryan returned from their honeymoon in Bali. To everyone watching, they looked like the perfect couple, tanned, relaxed, and blissfully happy. The reality was very different. Isabella had spent the entire week gathering information. She'd watched Ryan carefully, noting his habits, his phone calls, his moments of distraction. She'd played the loving wife while secretly photographing documents he left lying around and recording conversations when he thought she wasn't paying attention. Ryan, meanwhile, had grown increasingly confident. He thought his plan was working perfectly. Isabella seemed completely devoted to him, hanging on his every word, trusting everything he said. He had no idea that every smile she gave him was calculated, every loving gesture a carefully constructed lie. "I need to go into the office today," Ryan announced over breakfast on their first morning back. "There's an important merger I'm working on." "The Henderson tech deal?" Isabella asked innocently, buttering her toast. Ryan looked surprised. "How did you know about that?" "You mentioned it before the wedding, remember?" Isabella lied smoothly. She'd actually learned about it by hacking into his email during the honeymoon. "I thought it sounded exciting." "It is," Ryan said, relaxing. "If I can pull this off, Blackwood Technologies will become the dominant player in our sector." "That's wonderful, darling," Isabella said. Then, as if it were an afterthought, "Although I heard Henderson has some concerns about the terms. Maybe I could help? Martinez Innovations has worked with them before." Ryan's expression shifted slightly, a flash of greed in his eyes. "That would be incredibly helpful. Maybe you could reach out to their CEO, put in a good word?" "Of course," Isabella agreed. "Anything to help my husband succeed." What Ryan didn't know was that Isabella had already contacted Henderson's CEO, not to support the merger, but to plant seeds of doubt about Ryan's business practices. By the time Ryan made his next move, Henderson would be far less receptive than he expected. The fake romance. That evening, Isabella met Damien at a small, exclusive restaurant across town. They'd been careful about their meetings, always choosing places where they wouldn't be seen by anyone who knew Ryan. "How's married life?" Damien asked with a sardonic smile. "Exhausting," Isabella admitted. "Pretending to love someone you actually hate is harder than I expected." "It'll get easier," Damien assured her. "You're doing well." "I've been monitoring Ryan's communications. He has no idea you're onto him." "Good." Isabella pulled out her tablet and showed Damien a series of documents. "I've reorganized my company's structure. All the valuable patents are now in a subsidiary that Ryan can't access. I also set up additional legal protections. Even if he tries to sue for ownership, he'll lose." Damien looked impressed. "You move fast." "I learned from experience that hesitation is dangerous," Isabella said. "Now, tell me about the Henderson deal. You said you had a plan to sabotage it?" "Better than sabotage," Damien replied. "I'm going to make Ryan think he's won, then pull it away at the last second. I've been buying up Henderson Tech shares through shell companies. By next month, I'll have enough to influence their board. When Ryan thinks he's about to close the deal, I'll tank it." Isabella smiled. "I like the way you think." "There's something else," Damien said, his expression growing serious. "We need to be seen together publicly. Start rumors. Make Ryan jealous." "Why would that help?" Isabella asked. "Because jealous people make mistakes," Damien explained. "If Ryan thinks you're attracted to me, he'll get possessive. He'll start watching you more closely, which means he'll be distracted from his business dealings. Plus, it'll drive him crazy that you're interested in the brother he despises. Isabella considered this. So we start a fake relationship while I'm pretending to be happily married? Exactly, Damien said. Nothing too obvious at first. Just a few chance encounters, some lingering glances, maybe a lunch meeting that someone happens to witness. Let the gossip mills do the rest. Won't that damage my reputation? Isabella asked. Only if you care what people think, Damien replied. And besides, we're not actually doing anything wrong. We're just business associates who happen to run into each other frequently. People will assume whatever they want to assume. Isabella thought about it. It was risky, but it was also brilliant. Ryan's ego was enormous. If he thought his wife was attracted to his estranged brother, it would eat him alive. All right, she agreed. Let's do it. The growing attraction. Over the next few weeks, Isabella and Damien began implementing their plan. They accidentally ran into each other at charity events, had business lunches at popular restaurants, and were photographed together at an art gallery opening. The gossip started almost immediately. I heard Isabella Blackwood was seen having lunch with Damien Blackwood 3 times this week, someone whispered at a company party Isabella attended with Ryan. Isn't that Ryan's brother? The one they don't talk about? Yes. I wonder what's going on there. Ryan noticed, just as they'd planned. He started asking Isabella questions about Damien, trying to sound casual but clearly bothered. I heard you've been meeting with my brother, he said one evening over dinner. Damien? Isabella asked innocently. Oh yes, he's been very helpful with some business matters. He has excellent connections in the industry. You should be careful with him, Ryan warned. Damien isn't trustworthy. He's manipulative and dangerous. Isabella had to bite back a laugh. Ryan calling anyone else manipulative was rich with irony. He's been nothing but professional with me, she said. In fact, he's helped me understand several aspects of the tech industry that I was struggling with. I'm grateful for his mentorship. The word mentorship made Ryan's jaw clench. Good. Let him stew. But something unexpected was happening. As Isabella spent more time with Damien, she found herself genuinely enjoying his company. He was intelligent, witty, and surprisingly kind. He asked about her dreams for her company, listened when she talked about her frustrations, and offered advice that was actually helpful rather than self-serving. One evening, after a particularly successful business meeting where they'd blocked another one of Ryan's deals, Damien drove Isabella home. They sat in his car outside her house, neither of them quite ready to end the evening. Thank you, Isabella said. For everything. I couldn't do this without you. Yes, you could, Damien replied. You're stronger than you think, Isabella. Their eyes met, and suddenly the air in the car felt charged with electricity. Isabella realized with a start that she was attracted to him. Genuinely attracted, not just pretending for their plan. Damien, she whispered, but she didn't know what else to say. He reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch gentle. This is complicated, he said quietly. Very complicated, Isabella agreed. They both knew they were crossing a line, moving from pretend attraction to something real. But neither of them pulled away. We should be careful, Damien said finally. If Ryan finds out there's something real happening between us, he'll use it against you. I know, Isabella said. But she didn't move away from his touch. Sophie's revelation. The next day, everything changed again. Sophie showed up at Isabella's office unannounced, looking pale and shaken. Isabella's assistant tried to stop her, but Sophie pushed past and burst into the office. Isabella, we need to talk, she said urgently. I have nothing to say to you, Isabella replied coldly, not looking up from her computer. I'm pregnant, Sophie blurted out. Isabella's fingers froze on the keyboard. Slowly, she looked up. Excuse me? I'm pregnant with Ryan's baby, Sophie said, tears streaming down her face. 3 months. I didn't plan this, Isabella. I swear I didn't. But it happened, and now I don't know what to do. Isabella stood up, her mind racing. A baby. Ryan's baby with her former best friend. This complicated everything. Does Ryan know? She asked. I told him last night, Sophie said. He told me to get rid of it. He said it would ruin everything he's worked for. But I can't, Isabella. I can't do that. Despite everything Sophie had done, Isabella felt a flash of sympathy. She knew what it was like to be betrayed by Ryan, to discover that the man you loved was actually a monster. What do you want from me? Isabella asked. Help, Sophie whispered. I know I don't deserve it. I know I betrayed you. But I have nowhere else to turn. My family will disown me if they find out I'm pregnant with a married man's baby. I need money to start over somewhere else, away from all of this. Isabella studied Sophie carefully. This could be a trick, another manipulation. But Sophie's fear seemed genuine. I'll help you on one condition, Isabella said finally. You tell me everything. Every detail of your relationship with Ryan, every plan he shared with you, every secret you know. You give me ammunition to destroy him, and I'll give you the money to start over. Sophie hesitated for only a moment. Deal. The truth about Damien. That evening, Isabella met Damien at his penthouse apartment for the first time. She needed to tell him about Sophie's pregnancy and discuss what it meant for their plans. The apartment was stunning, modern, minimalist, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. But Isabella barely noticed the decor. She was too agitated. Sophie's pregnant, she announced as soon as Damien let her in. Damien's expression didn't change. I know. Isabella stared at him. You know? How? I have people who keep me informed, Damien said carefully. I found out yesterday. And you didn't tell me? Isabella felt betrayed. They were supposed to be partners. I was going to tell you tonight, Damien said. But I wanted to verify the information first. Sit down, Isabella. There's something I need to tell you. Isabella sat on the expensive leather couch, her heart pounding. Damien paced to the window, his back to her. 10 years ago, he began, I was engaged to a woman named Catherine. She was beautiful, intelligent, and I loved her more than anything. We were planning our wedding when Ryan decided he wanted her for himself. Isabella listened, her breath caught in her throat. Ryan seduced her, Damien continued, his voice flat. He told her lies about me, convinced her I was unfaithful, that I was only marrying her for her family's money. Catherine believed him. She broke off our engagement and started dating Ryan instead. What happened to her? Isabella asked quietly. 6 months later, she was pregnant with Ryan's child, Damien said. Ryan convinced her to get an abortion, told her it wasn't the right time, that they were too young. She was devastated, but she did it. Then, less than a month later, Ryan broke up with her. Told her he'd never loved her, that she was just a conquest. Isabella's hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God. Catherine killed herself, Damien said, turning to face Isabella. Tears streamed down his face, the first real emotion she'd seen him show. She took an entire bottle of sleeping pills. Left a note saying she couldn't live with what she'd done, couldn't live with the pain of losing everything. Damien, Isabella whispered, moving to stand beside him. I blamed Ryan, Damien continued. My father blamed me for not stopping it somehow. The family tore apart. My father sided with Ryan, said I was being dramatic, that Catherine's death wasn't Ryan's fault. So I left. Built my own company, my own life. But I never forgot. I never forgave. Isabella understood now. This wasn't just about revenge for Damien. This was about justice for Catherine. Sophie's baby, Isabella said slowly, you see it as history repeating itself. Yes, Damien admitted. Ryan will try to make her get rid of it, just like he did with Catherine. He'll destroy Sophie the same way he destroyed her. Unless we stop him. How? Isabella asked. Damien looked at her with fierce intensity. By making sure Sophie keeps the baby and Ryan has to face the consequences. By forcing him to acknowledge what he's done. By making him take responsibility for once in his miserable life. Isabella nodded slowly. All right. We help Sophie. We protect her and the baby. But we also use this situation to expose Ryan for who he really is. There's one more thing, Damien said quietly. Isabella, these past few weeks, spending time with you, working with you, it's become about more than revenge. You've become more than a partner in this scheme. Isabella's heart raced. Damien. I'm falling for you, he said simply. I know it's complicated. I know you're married to my brother, that this whole thing is messy and wrong in a dozen different ways. But I needed you to know the truth. All of it. Isabella looked into his gray eyes and saw everything, the pain, the desire, the hope. She saw a man who'd been broken by betrayal, just like her, but who'd managed to keep fighting. I'm falling for you too, she whispered. They kissed then, a real kiss, not for show or for their plan but because they couldn't help it. Years of pain and loneliness melted away in that moment. They'd both been so focused on revenge that they hadn't realized something precious was growing between them. When they finally pulled apart, Isabella rested her forehead against Damien's chest. What are we going to do? She asked. We're going to finish this, Damien said firmly. We're going to destroy Ryan, protect Sophie and her baby, and then we're going to figure out what comes next. Together. Part 3, Love's Redemption. The master plan unfolds. The following Monday, Isabella requested a meeting with Ryan's board of directors. She'd spent the entire weekend preparing, gathering evidence, and coordinating with Damien. Sophie had provided them with everything: emails, text messages, recorded phone conversations where Ryan discussed his plans to steal Isabella's patents and technology. Ryan had no idea the meeting was happening. That was intentional. Isabella stood before the board in her designer suit, projecting confidence she barely felt. These were powerful men and women, people who'd built Blackwood Technologies alongside Ryan's father. Convincing them to turn against Ryan would not be easy. Thank you for meeting with me, Isabella began. I know this is unusual, but I've discovered information that the board needs to be aware of regarding your CEO's activities. She pulled up the first slide on her presentation. It showed a detailed breakdown of Ryan's financial dealings over the past 2 years, including several questionable transactions. Ryan Blackwood has been systematically embezzling funds from the company, Isabella stated clearly. He's been using shell companies to hide the money, planning to bankrupt Blackwood Technologies and then buy it back at a fraction of its value.